Ready, everyone? All right. Oh, boy. That stinks.
Trustee Schroeder. Here. Trustee Pojek.
There.
I'm reading it. It's Michael.
Okay, you want to turn it over to me and I'll start?
Yes, please.
All right, we have two cases on the docket today. The first is, yeah.
Can I request that I go first I have to get back to work and. If it doesn't matter, if no one else cares, could I request to go first instead of the other way?
I have no objection.
I have objection. I have filed
Yeah, we'll
list of witness. So I
hold
want.
on, Mr. Pope, hold on. Okay, Mr. Pope would like to go first. I was gonna recommend.
That's fine.
I was gonna recommend that anyway, because I think yours, Mr. Pope, will take somewhat less time than Mr. Pokar's. So, Mr. Pokar, why don't you have a seat in the back and Mr. Pope, come on up, you're up.
Thank you.
Sorry, no, no, just if you like to go back to work. You want me to.
You want to do that?
No, you can say it if you are the guy.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay, first case is Corbin versus Pope, case number 2024 EB 002. For the objector
Tiffany Nelson Jaworski.
and for the candidate.
Ed Pope.
Okay, we were here a couple of times before this matter was referred out to the county clerk to conduct an examination of the signatures on Mr. Pope's nominating petition. We have the results of that investigation, and it has determined that there were a total number of signatures submitted on the petition of 121, of which 19 objections were sustained, which leaves the candidate at this point with 103 valid signatures on his nominating petition, presumptively, which is one more than the statutory minimum, which is where we are right now. So I would suggest that we make a motion to accept the results of the records examination into the record.
I make a motion, we accept this into the record. The examination.
Second? Is there a second?
Need a second.
No second.
No second to accept them into the.
Right.
Okay. Well, if we don't accept the results of the records examination into the record, then the objector's petition, the objectors have failed to meet their burden.
Right,
Means the case would be dismissed.
correct. Retaliation. Verdict of decision. Board is impartial.
I'm sorry. Is it?
Vice,
Wait, hold on.
speak up in law.
Hey, Mr. Kokar, you're not a party and you're not an attorney of
I
record.
know it's second of my name.
Mr. Kokar?
Yes.
Please, you'll have your chance on your case. You have a chance to fight for yourself. Mr. Pope can speak first.
I would just state that, on the record, as of the results of the records exam results, which I understand have not yet been accepted by the board, Mr. Pope has got 103 signatures. We still have our objections in paragraph 12 to sheet 12, lines 1 and 2. And with those objections, those deal with the time of the signature, whether the signature was done before those signers signed somebody else's petition, or whether those signatures were done after those signers signed somebody else's petition. We have submitted an affidavit that was part of our original.
Hold on.
Oh.
Is there a second on the motion to accept the?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so the result of the records examination will be accepted into. Okay.
You can have a different.
Oh,
Give a
oh,
second.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Jaworski, that leaves you now with the position of the candidate has one more signature on his nominating petitions than is necessary to qualify for the ballot. Agreed?
Correct.
Mr. Pope, do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so that's where we are today. The burden is on the objector to establish the candidate has an insufficient number of signatures. So Ms. Jaworski, do you have anything else you'd like to offer to the board?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Casper. Under paragraph 12 of our objector's petition, we had stated that signers of sheet 12, line 1 and 2, Kim Novielli and Lino Novielli, both signed an affidavit, copies of which were attached to the original objection. And I do have additional copies here for the board. They both signed affidavits stating that they signed the petition of Mike Ontiveros prior to signing the petition of Ken Pope. And the reason that that's important is under section 10-3 of the Illinois Election Code, it states that each signer may subscribe to one nomination for such office to be filled and no more. So when we have a situation where somebody has signed two different sets of petitions, we try to find out, who did they sign, whose petition did they sign first? And in this case, the signers of that petition on sheet 12, lines 1 and 2, again, Kim Novielli and Lino Novielli, both attested under oath that they in fact signed Mike Ontiveros' petitions first before they signed the petition of Edward Pope. So therefore, the signatures under section 10-3 of Mr. and Mrs. Novielli should not count for Mike Pope, or I'm sorry, for Edward Pope. And because of that, that would bring his signature total down to, if the board sustained those objections, that would bring his signature total down to 101, which is one less than the signature.
Do you have any evidence you'd like to offer?
I would just like to offer what was already previously tendered in the objector's petition. So everyone already has a copy of this, but just for the sake of convenience, I did run off extra copies for it. So I will not be marking this as an exhibit as it's already included in the record as it relates to the original objection that was filed. Unless, of course, the board would like me to mark it as.
I think we should mark it and admit it in that.
Okay, then I would like to mark it as group exhibit A.
Okay. The two affidavits, one of Lino, Lino Nobielli, and of is that K-Y-N?
Kim, yes.
Kim, K-Y-N, Nobielli will be admitted into evidence as objectors exhibit A, unless Mr. Pope, you have any objection you'd like to interpose.
During it? No.
Okay, so this will be admitted without objection. Okay. The affidavits are the same?
Yes.
Okay, the affidavits contained in objectors exhibit A state, as I said, the petition signer's name. One, that at all times relevant hereto, I was and am over the age of 18 years old. Two, that at all times relevant hereto, I was and am a resident of the village of Glendale Heights, county of DuPage, state of Illinois. Three, that at all times relevant hereto, I was and am a qualified and registered voter in the village of Glendale Heights. Four, I signed a nomination petition for Mike Ontiveros, Ontiveroz, to appear as a candidate on the ballot for village president of the village of Glendale Heights. Five, after signing the petition for Mike Ontiveros, Ontiveroz, I then signed a petition for Edward Pope. Six, when I signed the petition for Ed Pope, I was told that the petition was for
Randazzo,
Randazzo.
Randazzo, to run for office as a school board member for school district number 16. I later learned that the petition I signed for Randazzo was for Ed Pope to be a candidate for village president for the village of Glendale Heights. 7, I would have never signed the petition for Edward Pope to run for village president for the village of Glendale Heights, and I feel that deceptive practices were used to get my signature on the petitions for Edward, period. And then there's an additional space, number 8. In addition to all of the above described facts, I also state as follows, but that paragraph is left blank. 9, all of the above stated facts are within my personal knowledge, and I could confidently testify thereto if called upon to do so, and it is executed pursuant to section 1-109 of the Illinois Code of Civil Procedure. So those will be admitted into evidence. Ms. Jordan, anything further?
No, just again, that, based on the affidavit and based on section 10-3, these signatures should be stricken from the candidates petitions.
Okay. Mr. Pope, would you like to address these affidavits at all?
I wouldn't. I did call Mr. and Mrs. Novielli about the Randazzo signing for Jean. She was running for school district. That was 2 or 3 weeks prior, way before they signed for me. The night that I went there, I had my petition and Kim Darlin's position, both clearly marked at the top that it was Edward Pope, candidate for village president, and Kim Darlin for village clerk. They signed both mine and Kim's. We actually hung out at their house for a good half an hour. They showed us all the work. Mr. Ontiveros is the one actually doing the work on their home. And that's all we talked about, but we never talked. They never mentioned once that they had signed for him. They gladly signed. We sat in their new kitchen for a good half an hour, but my forms were clearly marked who they were for. And if they thought it was for Randazzo, which, I understand people make mistakes, but they signed 2. They signed Edward Pope's and Kim Darlin's. So they had to somehow know that they were not signing. They're not here. And, I'm very disappointed that they even did these affidavits because we've been friends for 30 years, but I was very clear in my intention that night that it was for me, that I was trying to, make sure I had more than enough numbers just in case something like this did happen. And they signed them gladly and willingly. In fact, in the previous election, Mr. Novielli went door to door with me. So, when you're in the ballot box, anybody can pick who they vote for. But that night, I was clear in my intention that this was my petitions and Kim Darlin's petitions.
Anything further?
Just in response, as it relates to, the conversations had and, related to whose petitions they thought they were signing. That was put in here because the affiants wanted that information on there, but truthfully, that's not really the relevant issue. The relevant issue is the order of signing, who's they signed first. And they have put in here under oath that they did in fact sign the petition of Mike Ontiveros prior to signing the petition of Edward Pope. So just by that alone and by operation of section 10-3, their signatures on Edward Pope's petitions should not be counted as valid, thereby bringing him 2 below the 103, which is 1 below the.
Do you have any further evidence?
I do not.
The objector rests.
I do.
Objectors concluded their presentation of evidence, which now means it's Mr. Pope's turn to present any evidence. Mr. Pope, do you have any evidence that you'd like to say?
Nothing more than what I just told you. I went there with a clear intention. I told them, I gave them my petitions. I had my folder. I showed them that they were signing for Edward Pope for village president and Kim Darlin for village clerk. They both signed gladly. And then, like I said, we hung out for probably another half an hour. They showed me all the beautiful remodeling on their house and their little cool feature that they added, and it was they never mentioned Mr. Ontiveros, other than the work he had done on their house. That was never, they never said anything. This didn't happen until after the fact, much after the fact, obviously, that, it just happens that they're willing to sign this after he's done all this beautiful work on their house. I find it suspicious personally, but all I can tell you is what my intentions were that night and what happened. And my intentions were clear. My paperwork was appropriately marked and signed by them. This came at me from left field. They did what they did. I don't know what to tell you. All I can tell you is that that night my paperwork was clearly addressed that it was for Edward Pope and for Ken Darlin.
Thank you. Anything further? I'm gonna ask you the same, would you rest?
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Sorry.
The candidate has rest his presentation as well. All right, so where we are right now is, I believe the case turns on the affidavits that were admitted into evidence as objectors exhibit A. If you'd like my analysis of this, my belief is that paragraphs 6 and 7 of the affidavit are not persuasive or in a basis upon which the two signatures should be invalidated. They may have been confused, misled, whatever, but the candidate's name is clearly printed on the petition and they signed it. Which is a warning. Read documents before you sign them. Look for legal advice. However, paragraph 5 of the affidavit states clearly, after signing the petition for Mike Ontiveros, who is identified as a candidate for the same office as Mr. Pope in paragraph 4 of the affidavit. The affiants both say, I then signed a petition for it. And I believe the state of the law, unfortunately, Mr. Pope, is pretty strong on this question. You can sign nominating paper for only one candidate for office per election. I have personal experience in this. I've litigated this case many times to the Illinois Appellate Court, and and in each case that I'm aware of, and I think I'm aware of all the cases, the ruling of the court has been, you can only sign for one candidate for office per election, and whichever one you sign first is the one that counts. This rule goes all the way back to the 1980s in a case called Watkins versus Burke, where the Illinois Appellate Court affirmed that rule or created that rule. And I am aware of at least 3 other court decisions that have reached the same conclusion. And so it would be my view that those two, the objections based on the fact that they had previously signed for another candidate, should be sustained, which would reduce the candidate's total number of signatures by 2, which would result in a total number of valid signatures of 101, which would render the candidate 1 signature below the statutory minimum. Mr. Pope, this is a cruel business sometimes. I have been on the winning end of other 1 signature cases, and I've been on the losing end of the 1 signature cases. It's very, very frustrating. But as we all know, what the Supreme Court told us from this town 4 years ago, the minimum is the minimum.
Right.
And it doesn't matter whether you're 10 below or 100 below or 1 below. You're below, you're below. So I think that unfortunately should result in a motion to sustain the objector's petition.
I agree. Based on the evidence shown here, Mr. Pope, you're short on your petition, so your name cannot be on the ballot.
Well, I'm not sure. They're saying that they signed for him.
Well, the evidence presented to us.
Well, according to them. I don't know that they didn't sign after me.
And Mr. Casper just explained everything to you too thoroughly, so.
I get it. I'm just saying that, it's their word versus mine.
But Mr. Pope, you don't know that they didn't sign for Ontiveros first.
I don't, but
Right.
and neither do we. I mean,
Well, then we have an affidavit under oath from them saying that they did, so, I mean, the weight of the evidence, right? It's what Mr. Jaworski's burden is the preponderance of the evidence, 50% plus one. So here's an affidavit from them saying they did sign for Ontiveros first. And there's nothing that says that they didn't.
Right.
And so that's the weight of the evidence. And since that's the only evidence, it's by definition the preponderance. So that's, I think, what this turns. So I think we need a motion to sustain the objector's position.
I'll make a motion.
There's a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Trustee Pojek,
Yes.
trustee Schroeder. Yes. And then yes.
Thank you. So what I'd like to do, and this goes for you, Mr. Kokar, and Mr. Jaworski too. I typed up the prefatory language of an order, so I can fill it in afterward. And then we can sign it today so that we don't have to come back again. And you said you have to get off, we can mail it to you, or I can email it to you.
Yeah, that's
whatever.
fine.
All right, in email or mail?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, fine. All right, well, we'll get it to you probably both ways. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Do I have to sign it?
No,
You're just gonna send
so
something.
we're gonna send it to you.
Okay.
Let me see, we have the objection paper.
The what?
The objection paper.
You can have it.
No, I would see. Signatures.
All right, thank you. That matter is concluded. All right, Mr. Kokar, you're in the batter's box.
I have sent it.
Wait, we gotta do some preliminaries. All right, the next case is case number 2024 EB 001. Corbin versus Kokar. KHOKHAR. For the objector
Tiffany Nelson Jaworski.
and for the candidate.
Jody Kokar.
Okay. When we were last here, there were allegations raised against a number of the candidates' petition signatures. We referred that to the county clerk for an examination. We have the results of that examination, which are as follows. There were a total of 187 signatures on the candidates' nominating petitions. There were objections sustained to 30 of those signatures. That means that the candidate has 157 valid signatures after the records examination, which is a number 55 above the statutory minimum. So I believe that we should have a motion to accept the results of the records examination into evidence, just like we did in the last.
Okay,
So there's a motion by the,
I'll make a motion to accept the county's figures.
Second.
motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
The records examination report will be admitted into evidence. Okay, Mr. Jaworski, we have also at the last hearing, we accepted into evidence an affidavit from a petition signer who indicated that his signature on the nominating petition sheet of the candidate was not in fact his signature. Correct, Mr. Jaworski?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and then we also took evidence in the form of live testimony from the notary public.
of the applicant. And that is where we left. Ms. Jaworski, do you, have anything further that you'd like to present?
Yes, I would. First, I would like to kind of go through the records examination results because I think that they illuminate some of the fraud issues that we have pled in our objector's petition. So if the board would indulge me for a few moments, I just wanted to go through again, those records examination results. So the first thing I wanted to point out is that in our objector's petition, we did in fact plead that some of these, signatures that are on these petitions were likely signed by a husband or a wife or a relative. And the reason that that's important, a lot of times in election law, we talk about mom and pop signatures. I'm sure that if you've ever met with an election attorney, we'll talk to you about the mom and pop signatures, which is typically a wife signing for a husband or a husband signing for a wife.
Objection, Your Honor. She had to be specified, my general use.
No, she's just giving an overview of what the.
I mean, I have an issue.
She'll get to the.
No, I want specified.
Mr. Kokar? She gets to say what she wants to say, you get to say what you want to say.
Your Honor,
Okay,
she
okay.
has been given
Mr.
license.
Kokar,
Let me,
Mr. Kokar, she gets to say what she'd like to say, you'll get every opportunity to say everything you want. Okay? All right.
Thank you very much. So the reason that that is important, the mom and pop signatures is, a lot of times, again, a husband signs for a wife and a wife signs for a husband. This happens sometimes when you're out circulating petitions. Now, the proper thing to do in that situation is to strike one of the signatures because that signature was not signed by you, by the actual signer. And in a circulator's affidavit, which is the verbiage, the language at the bottom of the petitions, that language says, I personally witnessed every single signature on this page, personally witnessed. Now, again, this is very important because in our objector's petition at paragraph 16A, in addition to the affidavit that we already submitted, but in 16A, we specifically state that several signatures were not placed in the petitions by their voters or by the voters in their own proper person, but were signed by other individuals, family members, or the circulator. Now, again, this is important when you go through the actual records examination results. So the first one I would like to point out is sheet 2, lines 6 and 7. And if you look at sheet 2,
Hold on, let me get it here. Okay, sheet 2,
line 6 and 7.
on 6 and 7.
So if we compare
Can
this,
everybody follow along? I'm trying to find it.
you got it in front of you.
Okay,
Okay.
6 and 7.
so if you compare sheet 2, line 6 and 7, if you look at the signatures themselves, the S's are very similar in the last name, and the middle of the signature looks substantially similar. Now, if you also compare that with the results from from DuPage County,
Even the number 5 and the address is the same,
yes,
all three.
but we don't typically look at the address. It's really the signature that counts. So the petitions can actually come pre-printed with somebody's address on them, and that's fine. Somebody else can print somebody's address, somebody else can print somebody's name, but what they can't do is sign for somebody else. And so in sheet 2, line 6 and 7, in my opinion, the signatures look similar. And then in addition to that, you look at the records examination results, and sheet 2, line 6 was sustained as being an invalid signature. Signer's signature is suspect. That's how DuPage County calls it, but that basically means, that the signature doesn't match, at least in my opinion.
Ms. Jaworski, is it your contention that the person who signed sheet 7 also, I'm sorry, line 7 also signed line 6?
Correct.
Okay.
And then if we turn next to sheet 5, please. I'm sorry. Sheet 4, I apologize. Sheet 4. Sheet 4, line 5. These results are really difficult to read with the shading that DuPage does. So if you look at the results at sheet 4, line 5, you see that this one was sustained. And if you look at the signature right below it, it's, I'm sorry, if you, let me move back. Actually, if you look at the signature right above it, rather, 4 and 5, look to me to be signed by the exact same person. And so 4 or 5 was sustained as not being a valid signature. And if you look at the signature and the results of the records examination, it's clearly not the same. So I'm very thankful that DuPage puts a signature capture.
So
That's really-
you
You believe,
four, the
Four was-
person who signed line 5 also signed line 4.
but 4 and 5. If you look at 4 and 5, look at the Williams, how they're signed. I believe that the person that signed sheet or line 4 also signed line 5. If you look at 4 and 5, they look exactly the same.
You mean 5 and 6?
No, 5 and 6 is
Sheet number, what?
4, sheet
sheet
number.
number 4, lines 4 and
Lines
5.
4, 5, and 6 are subject of the discussion.
And then 6 does look very similar as well.
The C is.
But 4 and 5 are, in my opinion, when you see Williams, it's very, very clear that it's signed by the same person.
Yeah. Right.
I'm looking at 5 and 6.
5 and 6 do also look alike.
Right.
I agree. And we did state that there's, these problems on this page, so we have sufficiently planned that. Okay, if we can move over to page,
Wait, let me see, line.
4, 5, and 6 do look substantially. 4 and 5, I think, look nearly identical. And 5 and 6, the C, as well as the S's, look very similar to me.
These were pointed out by the DuPage Election Commission.
Well, the DuPage election, or I'm sorry, the DuPage clerk's office did sustain the objection against sheet 4, line 5, saying that that was not a valid signature. And if you look at the signature capture that they put in the election results, or I'm sorry, the examination results, it's clear looking at that signature that it does not match line 5.
So your contention, Mr. Worsky, is that the person who signed sheet 4, line 4, also signed sheet 4, line 5.
And possibly 6. But definitely line 5, I think. I think 6 is also suspect, but definitely line 5.
Okay,
Okay, now if we can move over to sheet 6, please. Yes.
Okay.
And if we can look at lines 5 and 6, this is another one where the objection to line 5, I believe. I can barely read these results. No, it's line 6. Line 6 was sustained. And it's my contention that the signer of line 5 also signed for line 6.
What sheet number are you talking?
Sheet 6, lines 5 and 6.
6 and 5. Objection was sustained. So your contention is that the signer of 6 also signed 5.
Correct.
Okay,
And if we can move over to sheet 7 next, please. Now, sheet 7 is a little bit different. In sheet 7, line 1 was sustained. Now, we know that the candidate in doing these petitions We can tell just by looking at this sheet alone, as well as looking at the back of the petitions, the candidate took the time to do a certificate of deletions. However, what is, in my opinion, is clearly a duplicative signature, where this Malik Khan signed twice. He did not scrub that signature. I don't know if that was an oversight or if it was purposeful. Either way, to me, it is either one of two things happened. Somebody else signed for it, or the candidate didn't catch it. Either way, the signatures on lines 1 and 2, or the signature on line 1 has been stricken. And it just, to me, is curious as to why a deletion wasn't done for this one. It's very clearly apparent at the top of the sheet that this was in fact in the same person's hand. So, yeah, I would submit that both signatures should be stricken. As of right now, signature 1 has been stricken. But this was just something I wanted to point out to the board. Now if we can move over to sheet 8, please. And on sheet 8, if we can look at lines 1 and 2, please. And I would submit lines 1 and 2, while the objection to this signature on line 2 was overruled. I do think that these signatures look substantially similar. And we did plead that in our objection, so I wanted to point that out. You know, in our opinion, it looks to me as if it's signed by the same person. Okay, if we can now move over to
You mentioned sheet 8, signature 1 and 2.
Right.
1 and 2, correct?
Those are different addresses.
We'll let you speak to each one when, Ms. Jaworski completes her presentation. Okay?
Okay, if we can now move over to sheet 10.
Then
All right, now let's stay on 8, 1 and 2, Mr. Jaworski.
Yes.
So 8, 2, the objection was overruled.
Correct. As to, I believe it was as to, was it genuineness objection?
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yes, the objection was over.
So it's your contention that the person who signed 8,
8-2.
2
signed.
Also signed 1.
Correct.
Okay?
Okay, moving over to page 10, or sheet 10 rather. I'd like to direct the board's attention to lines 4, 5, and 6. Now, the objection for line 4 was sustained.
Yeah.
The objection for line 6 was overruled. So it is my contention, and if you just look at the penmanship, it just looks substantially similar with the signatures of 4, 5, and 6. So it is my contention that the signer of line 6 is likely the person that signed lines 4 and 5 as well. Okay, moving on to sheet 12, please. Keep the direct the board's attention to 7, 8, 9, and 10 on sheet 12. For these, there were objections against 7, 8, and 10. All 3 were sustained, and those are all on 7 and 8, they were objections as to the signature being suspicious. And for 12, or the signature not being genuine, Page County calls it suspicious. For sheet 12, line 10, that was an objection for the signer not registered address shown. Now, I don't know if they were able to find the signature or not, because they don't see the signature capture here for line 10. However, in my opinion, if you look at the signatures for 7, 8, 9, and 10, in my opinion, they look substantially similar, and it would be my contention that the signer of 9 likely signed for 7, 8, and 10.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to sheet 15, please. 15? Yes, 15. Now, if we can,
Page 15.
yes, look at 7 and 8. Now, we did have an objection as it relates to line 7, which was a signature, whether the signature was valid. And the board did find, or the DuPage County did find that the signature was in fact valid. But looking at line 8, especially the way that Pulte is printed out in both signatures, it looks substantially similar. And I would submit that the signer of line 7 actually also signed line 8.
Okay.
Okay, now if we can move on, we're gonna jump ahead all the way to sheet 20. Now, there's a couple things on sheet 20 that I wanted to point out to the board. Number one was lines 2 and 3. Line 3, there was an objection as to the authenticity of the signature, and that was sustained. Now, if you also look at line 3, and you look at sort of the end of the Lopez, it looks to me like it was signed by the same person. So I think the
Same
signer.
person as
As
2.
line, so yeah, exactly. So I think the signer of line 2 signed line 3. That is what I'm arguing.
Okay,
And then if we jump down to lines 8 and 9. We also, in addition to the affidavit that we have,
Sheet 22 and 3, 8 and 9, right?
yes. If we jump down to lines 8 and 9, if we look, number one, we already have submitted an affidavit that is in evidence as it relates to line 9, which is an affidavit of Mr. Azim Hussein saying that this in fact is not my signature. I did not sign this petition. Well, in addition to that, if you look at line 8, interestingly, line 8 also was sustained as not being the signature of the wife, Mona, or somebody in the house. I'm assuming it's somebody in the house. So it's very curious, and so both signatures were sustained as not being genuine signatures. So in this one, I don't know who signed it for them, but they clearly didn't sign it, at least not according to the records that we have before us. If we can now move over to sheet 21, please. And if I can direct the board's attention to lines 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2, 3, 4, and 5 all appear to me to be signed by the exact same person. It looks to me like they were probably signed by either the person that signed under 2 or 3. I would submit that the person that signed line 2 probably signed 3, 4, and 5. And I also like to point out to the board that that DuPage County determined that lines 4 and 5 were invalid signatures. So, in my opinion, the signer of line 2 or possibly line 3 was the actual signer for all 4 of the signatures. If we jump down on that same sheet to lines 9 and 10. If we look at that, to me, it looks to me to be the same signer at the same residence. And again, I think that's probably, a mom and pop type signature. But again, when that happens, you're supposed to scrub one. You're not supposed to submit one.
I'm sorry, where are you?
Lines 9 and
On
10
what page?
on sheet 21 still.
9.
And just,
And which one was sustained?
the one that was sustained. 10 was sustained. But it was sustained for not being registered.
Okay,
So we don't have a comparison.
okay.
Jumping now over to sheet 23, please. Yes. Line 4 on that sheet was sustained. And what it looks like to me is that the person that signed line 3 then went and signed but did a printed signature of line 4. Well, we don't normally look at the addresses and it's signature that counts. You know, you can look at some of the similarities and how things are printed, and I see a lot of similarities there. So I think that the person that signed line 3 also signed line 4. And last but not least, page 24, please. I'd like to direct the board's attention to lines 5 and 6. There's other ones on here that I think that are suspicious, but the DuPage County found them to be valid signatures. However, the ones that they did not find to be valid were lines 5 and
Sorry. 24, 16, and 5 and 6.
24-5 was sustained. So I think that the person that signed for 24-6 signed for 24-5. And that is what we're submitting. So in summary, it is our contention that the candidate, while circulating, you know, again, these mom and pop signatures do happen, but the candidates are under an obligation to scrub their signatures and make sure that their affidavits, a circulator is under an obligation to make sure that the affidavit that they're signing under oath that says, I personally witnessed every single signature on the sheet. They're under an obligation to make sure that affidavit is true and correct. If you've got mom and pop signatures that you didn't personally witness, again, a husband signing for a wife or a wife signing for a husband or a brother signing for a sister or roommate signing for another roommate or, you know, partner signing for another partner. If you've got signatures like that, you know, you're supposed to scrub it. The candidate went through the trouble of scrubbing all sorts of other signatures, but didn't scrub these. And in my opinion, what that shows is, number one, a lack of diligence by the candidate. That's number one. Number two, what it also shows to me is that this affidavit is false. The affidavit, again, says that I personally witnessed the signatures on every single one of these pages. Not only do we have an affidavit from Mr. Azim Hussein that says, no, that's not true. I never signed this petition. But now we also have evidence from the DuPage County Clerk's office showing certain signatures that we pointed out in our objector's petition that we saw as potentially issues, as sheets that had what we thought was a high frequency of mom and pop signatures. You know, we pointed that out in the objector's petition to state that this is a problem. This is evidence of fraud. And in our opinion, we have satisfied our burden to prove fraud. Number one, we do have the affidavit that was previously submitted and entered into evidence. And we now have the results of the records examination, which when you examine those records results against the petitions that were actually submitted, in my opinion, there's an abundant amount of evidence that shows that there was fraud. So the question then becomes, what is the remedy if the board does find fraud? So the board has multiple remedies available to it. The board can either, you know, do the most drastic remedy, which is toss every single sheet that circulator has circulated and invalidate every single one of those sheets. As Mr. Golkar is the sole circulator, that would then invalidate every single one of his sheets. Another remedy available to the board is to invalidate the sheets that they think that the fraud occurred on. Either way, if the board invalidated the sheets that they think the fraud occurred on, as pled by us in our petition and as just reviewed right now, it is my opinion that the candidate would then be below the required number of signatures. And in fact, by my calculations, if we look at the number of signatures that he could potentially lose in addition, because if you lose that sheet, he loses all the signatures on that sheet. And if you back that out from the objections that were already sustained, I'm just talking the sheets in general. If you back that out from the signatures that were already sustained, it's my position that if sheets 2, 4, 7, 8,
6 to be also.
Oh, yeah, 2, 4,
Okay,
6.
what are the, sheet number two, what are those questionable, line thing?
Hold on, Mr. Kokar, you don't get to ask questions.
So I.
You don't get to ask questions.
Okay.
Sheet two,
Sheet 2,
sheet
4,
four, sheet six,
6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 13.
wait, I don't have 13.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She didn't mention
Okay,
13.
so 13 I didn't do, okay. Yeah, I might ended up not finding anything on it. 15. Do we do 15?
Yes,
16.
I don't have
Okay,
16.
no 16. Okay.
I have, the next one I have is 20.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna reread that then. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 15, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
Agreed.
You would be 80, you would lose an additional 86 signatures. If those.
There are 86 remaining valid signatures after the records exam on those sheets.
Yes, that is my rough calculation. And so that would bring the,
That was, Mr. Dorsey, that was a good hedge. Is it your calculation or your rough calculation?
well, it is my calculation, it is my calculation. So it is my position that would bring him below, well below the signature requirement, to the tune of approximately 100, it would bring him down to, let me redo this math. Uh, 61 signatures. And so if whether the board determined that it wanted, that if it agrees with my allegations of fraud, if it agrees with my client that my client believes that fraud occurred. If the board agrees with that, then again, the board, I think, has two options, one of which is to either remove all of the sheets that Mr. Kokar circulated or remove the sheets as indicated, which either way does bring him below the signature requirement, which would then remove him from that.
Thank you. Anything further?
No,
Just the objector right?
yes.
Okay. Mr. Kokar,
Can you please repeat me sheet number two, what was all
I will tell you.
the lines?
All right, my notes show that on sheet two, the lines that Ms. Jaworski discussed were lines 6 and 7. And it's her contention that the person who signed sheet two, line 6, I'm sorry, the person who signed sheet 2, line 7 also signed sheet 2, line 6.
And sheet four.
It's sheet 4, it's lines 4 and 5. And it's her contention that the person who signed line 4 also signed line 5.
So Storm,
Sure.
number one, I have filed list of witness. I want to depose those witness first. Unfortunately, line 4, line 6, 5, and 6. We have signer over here. Fortunately, he's here, Mr. Tony.
Yes, sir.
Can you please come over here?
I would object for multiple reasons. Number one, under the board's rules themselves that were approved by the board at this initial hearing, the board does have certain procedures and evidentiary rules, if you will, especially under under Rule 5. The rule is that witness lists and evidence for both parties, case in chief, must be presented to the electoral board at least 48 hours prior to the time of the hearing and must be served on the electoral board's attorney and its members in accordance with these rules, in addition to any service requirements provided by these rules or by law. When we were here last time, the parties had agreed in the prior hearing, in the initial hearing, to a 24-hour evidentiary disclosure. And that was 24 hours from December 16th at 10 a.m. I complied with that disclosure. I have not added to my evidence in any manner whatsoever. Mr. Kokar did not.
Hold on.
Nobody else can wait.
Sir, you're not been called on.
So,
Okay.
Mr. Kokar did not comply with that. And in fact, didn't even comply with the 24-hour from today. He sent what was purported to be a evidentiary or a witness list, sent that at 1:48 p.m. yesterday, which is well short of the 48 hours required in Rule 5, and is also well far away from the 24-hour disclosure deadline from December fifteenth. So, December sixteenth, we were here at 10 a.m. The rule then was that both parties had to give their evidence by December fifteenth at 10 a.m. And he did not comply with that. And he's filing this and also filing all sorts of other things with the court that are improper. And I would ask that, number one, his request be denied as it relates to the witness list, because as I stated in Elk Grove Village, as the electoral board attorney, these procedures still have to have some sort of rules. They have to have some sort of order. In court, we don't have Matlock moments where the witness just comes out of the wings and all of a sudden the murderer is exonerated. That does not happen in real life court. We have things called discovery and we have things called rules and orders, and we have to comply with those. And Mr. Kokar has not complied with the rules, and therefore I would request that any witnesses that were disclosed on this list not be allowed to testify, as that he has not complied with the rules established by this board.
Okay, Mr. Kokar, what is the name of the witness you'd like to call?
I have list of, witness, number one is, clerk of the court. I want to call her, number one.
Wait.
This yesterday.
Wait, okay. Who's the gentleman to your
This
left?
gentleman,
What's his name?
his name is Tony
All right, Mr. Andrade.
Andrade.
Okay. And what is the purpose of the testimony?
Actually, he came for different purpose, but now, attorney, Tiffany raised some other issues which I did not have knowledge, did not have notice. Because according to, she is not expert of.
Okay, Mr. Kokar, why would you like the board to hear from him? What information would you like him to present to the board?
Number
What's the
one,
purpose?
I want to present, number one, board is biased against me. And they want to throw out of balance for no reason. Because it happened last time that I was denied my due process of right, under Sixth Amendment.
Okay,
right
that's the
to-
first, okay, that's the first purpose, is
Yes.
to show bias. What, is there any other purpose?
Other purpose is, as I mentioned, that we received, attorney, if Tiffany, she is not expert, number one. She did not call any expert witness. And the result has been verified by.
Mr. Kokar, what is the purpose you'd like to call the witness for? What's he gonna tell these folks?
Number one, I
You
want,
just told us the bias. Is there anything else
I
you're gonna
want
tell?
to testify the truthfulness of these board members. Their credibility, their
Okay.
character, their,
Okay,
they are wise people against me.
is there anything else that Mr. Andrade is gonna testify to?
Today he's also here, so, and attorney mentioned that, signature, sheet number 6, signature number 5 and 6. So coincidentally, Mr. Andrade, Tony Andrade, he's here, he signed that petition.
Yes, I did.
Okay, hold on.
And my
You're getting ahead of us,
I
Mr.
object to the
Andrade.
statements made by Mr. Andrade.
I object to her.
You're not allowed to say anything.
I'm a
Mr.
witness,
Mr.
and I'm a
Andrade, you're not
registered
yet.
voter.
Mr.
I'm a voter. It's very important you know that.
No,
Mr. Andrade,
It's racist
Miss-
board.
no,
I'm tired of it.
Mr. Andrade,
right on is a
Yes, look at me. I'm tired of your racism.
This guy is a big racist pig.
You are.
We should not
I'm
be
tired
here.
of it. You need to be removed.
He
You
is
shouldn't be here.
He is
Mr. if you do not keep it down, I will ask
his face.
Mr. Kokar, listen to me. We will have decorum. Do you understand, Mr. Andrade?
Explain it to me.
That we will have decorum?
Yes.
That means you will not shout. You will not speak over others when they are speaking. You will speak when the board grants you permission to speak. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. We will behave as such. This is not a
Understood.
playground.
But we
Don't interrupt me.
We asked for respect.
No.
Okay, Mr. Kokar, have you completed? So you would like the witness to testify regarding the circumstances of signing petition number sheet
Page
6, 5 and 6. All right, let's take a look at that.
There's no need, guys.
Just stay here, just stay here. 5 and 6 and signer is here, coincident. And he's also journalist as well.
No.
And I was there when both sides.
No, Mr.
Yeah. I
Colcar,
was there. In
Mr.
person.
Colcar, you cannot testify until you call yourself as a witness. All right, sheet 6, lines 5 and 6, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, um. And if you would like to call Mr. Andrade as a witness regarding his signature on sheet 6, line 5, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Now, there is the question of the disclosure of the witness. There was a disclosure list. There was an agreement to submit the list of witnesses 24 hours in advance of the hearing. Mr. Colcar sent his notice at approximately 1:45 PM yesterday, which is less than 24 hours.
Yes. And if I may, Mr. Casper, I think the agreement was for 24 hours before the first.
Yeah, but today is the evidence.
Okay, that's fair.
So given that Ms. Jaworski presented argument and evidence, we admitted evidence into the record today about the signature on sheet 6, line 5 in the form of the records examiner. You know, Mr. Colcar technically violated the agreement to exchange witness lists, but I think you ought to hear what the witness is about his own signature. That's factual testimony. Bias of the board, what happened 4 years ago, that is not relevant. So I don't think we should hear testimony about that. This gentleman has factual information about his own signature on the petitions. You gotta hear what he has to say. But I would caution against going beyond what his own personal knowledge is, Mr. Colcar, okay? Because if you're gonna say they're biased against you, that you're asking for his opinion. Right, so let's stick to the facts, okay? All right, call the witness.
Mr. Tony.
Yes, sir. All right, you have to be sworn by the court report.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear to God.
It's in, we look at this sheet number 6. There are number 5 and 6. Do you recognize your signature?
Yes,
Who did you sign for this?
that is my signature
Who was the candidate? Who?
for Mr. Colcar.
Where did you sign?
If I recollect correctly, I believed at my house,
Yeah.
at my kitchen table, actually.
And your wife also was there.
My wife was there, my daughters and few of my sons, but whoever was legally registered voted and was there to sign on their own behalf.
And you recognize your signature,
I recognize my signature and I see my wife's.
your wife's signature.
Yep.
Both are valid.
Yes,
Both you valid for Chaudhary Colcar.
yes,
Who came to your house at 597?
Mr. Colcar.
And it was almost, what time? I know it was evening time.
It was evening time, yes. Definitely, we signed on our own. Our whole family is very passionate about voting.
Any more questions, Mr. Colcar? Mr. Jaworski, any questions?
So it's your testimony that you did not sign for your wife, is that correct?
Exactly. I did not sign for my wife. She signed for herself.
Okay, I have nothing further related to the sheet.
Anything further, Mr. Colcar? Any board members have any questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Andrade. Thank you for coming in. You're excused. That wasn't so hard.
Coincident?
Okay. Next. Mr. Colcar, do you have any other evidence you'd like to present?
I mean, this is unexpected, that, she does not agree with the DuPage Election Commission, Attorney Tiffany. We sent, result has been verified by that. And what happened, objector, and I want also question objector, right now. I want to, just,
Mr. Corbin,
yeah, I don't want
he's
to.
not on your witness disclosure.
No, but he's objector, he's supposed to be here.
No, did you file a notice to produce on Mr. Worsky?
No, I
No,
was
you did not.
under the assumption that he would be here
No,
because,
I'm sorry, that's not the way it works. So Mr. Kokar is suggesting that the objector should be here to present his case today. But I don't agree with it. I think that the objector is here, but through his attorney, Mr. Worsky. He's not obligated to be here unless the other side notifies the other side that they'd like him to appear. It's called the Rule 237 Notice to Produce.
can I give verbal notice to attorney that? he can-
Not anymore. We're here, this is it.
Okay. This, according to, I will go with the, this, witness coincidentally, fortunately, he's here, he testified for two signatures. Same way, signature.
Wait, Mr. Kokar?
Yeah, no,
Are you're commenting about Mr. Andrade's testimony?
right.
Do you have any other evidence you'd like to submit?
I do not have time, I did not have knowledge of this, that this way, that attorney Tiffany will not accept, DuPage Election Commission result, verified result.
Okay, so you would just like to sum up what you'd like to say?
No, I want to go line by line.
All right, let's go.
If I may, just for the record, I never said I wasn't accepting DuPage County's results. I was talking about the results. I just wanted the record to be clear. I never said that.
No, but we take, your words speak for themselves.
Thank you.
187 signature was sent. And objection was against 57. They put objection for 57 signature or whatever, 57. So out of 57, DuPage Election Commission overruled 27 signature. And they sustained 30. Overruled 27 out of 57. 27, and they sustained 30 signatures. So 187 minus 30 signature. So it's come 157 valid signature.
We all agree with that.
All agree.
Okay.
And attorney Tiffany, she objected a few others, and coincidentally, one voter is here. And he in person verified, testified that I signed my signature, my wife signed my signature. So her objection against two should be invalidated, should not be accepted. And likewise, other signature, DuPage Election has verified and sent, with affidavit, and those are all valid signature. I went door to door, and I got to go accordingly with the line, sheet number and line number. So she mentioned about 5 and 6, line number 2. Line number 2, 6 and 7.
I'm sorry, which sheet are we on?
Sheet number 2, 6 and 7.
Yes?
These signatures are two, I in person, I went to 14, 15.
Okay, hold on, stop right there, Mr. Kokar.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Kokar,
Yes,
are you going to,
I'm going,
are you going to speak
sheet by sheet.
about the
Sure.
circumstances
Yes,
of when you gathered the
I
signature?
do.
Okay, then you need to be sworn in as a witness.
Okay.
Okay.
You solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Signature number 6 and 7. Present state 1450. That's in my neighborhood. And these guys, when I went, they very beautiful discussion happened. Both, I did not know they were priests, but I knew they were they are Christian. So I went to at that address, both husband, senior citizen, they both came. And the guy, he said, you know, I'm a Christian, you are Muslim, how come I vote for you? You know? I said, sir, your God, God of Christians, God of Judas, God of Muslim is same God. You can call that God with any name. Then I gave example that a woman, when she's born, she is a daughter. Then she become sister.
I have to.
Then she become, let me speak. Let me speak.
Hold on. Do you have an objection?
I object based upon the relevancy of the idiosyncrasies of the conversation. I don't think we need to hear every single word that was spoken back and forth of the conversation. If it's his contention that he circulated every single one of his signatures, and that is what he's swearing to under oath, obviously the board can take that contention and then just weigh the credibility of that. I think honestly it would save a bunch of time for this board if Mr. Kokar is simply just going to go through and say, I personally circulated all of these, then that's what he's going to say. I think the board can accept that as that is his position, and without the necessity of going through every single signature and talking about each circumstance, each conversation. But again, that's up to the board. But I think that ultimately it comes down to the board's going to weigh the credibility of Mr. Kokar versus the credibility of the objector and the objector's petition and the evidence submitted to the objector.
I think Mr. Kokar has the opportunity to present arguments about the evidence of the objector. But Mr. Kokar, let's stick to the facts, okay? Who, what, when, and where?
I went in person at that address. They are in my neighborhood. I did not know they were both priests, and they said, we are both priests, pastor. And they said, when I mentioned that, a woman is like, daughter, sister, wife, and mother, but is a woman. So God is same, God different. So anyway, both said, yes, we will sign, and they signed in my presence. Wife signed, husband. And if board wants, I can bring affidavit from it.
Okay, you do not have an affidavit.
I did not know,
Okay, all right.
I could not predict, I'm not,
Anything else on sheet 2?
So sheet 2, I went that address.
Well, you already said that.
Yeah. So
Anything
in person,
else?
they signed in my presence, and this is my affidavit, that.
Okay, anything else?
This is, all, then it's notarized,
So nothing else?
Nothing, yeah.
Okay, sheet 4.
Sheet number 4. 4 and 5. Sheet number 4, 131 is Fullerton, 131 is Fullerton. Yeah, this is again same thing in person. These are two people. They sign in my presence. That I believe is across this village hall. So both people they sign in my presence. And my affidavit is there. They read my name. We talk, about election, And Corey Williams, 131 is Fullerton. Yeah. So Corey William and Chris, some other name. Both sign in my presence, different people.
Okay,
Yes.
anything?
In my presence, 131 is like that. So both two people signing in my presence. And the signature are different. Corey Williams, and the other is wife, I believe, Christian. And both there are, even the signature is different, and I'm using the same pen. My pen was used, by the same, so different two people. So it's not that this is by one person.
Okay,
This is number
next is sheet number 6. That's the one that Mr. Andrade testified to.
that
Would you like to present anything else about sheet 6?
6 I went in person, and when I went, before I went, I believe I called them, are you home, and they said, yes, I believe that. So when I went, his wife, he was there, Mr. Andre, Tony, his wife was there, and his kids were there. And all those people signed my petition.
Adult kids.
Adult kids, registered,
Mr. Andrade, you don't get to testify anymore.
registered voter.
And your shot.
Registered voter. Sometimes it happens, when you go, there are 2 or 4 people. So I gave, one kid to 2 people, the kid to other people. So all these people, there are 6, 7 voters, registered voters at that address, all signed my petition. And in my presence.
Okay,
There's no question of, similarity or, that fraudulent, I particularly this time, one of my friend, he's an election attorney, said, this time they are going to give you hard time, be careful. So I went door to door with, if somebody,
I have to object to that. I mean,
you mentioned that,
wait.
Well,
Hold on, there's an objection. What's the basis of your objection?
I'm sorry, did Mr. Kokar just threaten
now you are threatening me.
forward and
No,
myself?
you are threatening me.
Wait, Mr.
Different name.
Mr. Kokar, there's an objection pending.
I thought I heard that he has a friend who's an election attorney, and this time we should all be careful. I don't understand what that means, and I think that is a pretty threatening statement.
I believe that your nature of your objection is hearsay.
Yes, I guess that would be
Sus-
your
I would
saying.
sustain that objection. Okay, keep going, Mr.
So I was very careful, so I went door to door. I did not let anybody sign on behalf of other person,
Okay,
period.
anything on sheet 7,
Sheet 7,
lines 1 and 2?
what are those sheets? Number 1 is 1 and 2. Yes, it's my inadvertent mistake that the guy, the same guy, first he put his name on signatures line.
Okay, so,
So then I reminded, so he signed that, and I forgot him. My mistake, I admit that. I'm that honest.
fair enough, fair enough. Okay,
Okay, that is 1
sheet 8,
2. 8 is 1 and 2, right? Sheet 8, 1 and 2. 153, Fullerton, 130. These are 2 different addresses in. 153 is West Fullerton, and second is 130. Handwriting is different, way of style, putting address is different. Signature are different. Beena Patel, 153. She's a wonderful lady. She's a friend of mine. And next is the 130, some other addressing. How come 153 can sign, 131? Okay, I don't understand, ridiculous objection. These are 2 different people, 2 different address, 2 different signatures. Pen might be same.
okay. Sheet,
Sheet number 8, I believe 8.
oh, didn't we just do it?
Yeah,
Oh,
sheet
you're right.
number done. Okay, sheet number
10?
10. Okay, so what is 10? 1 and 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. Am I writing correct? Sheet number 10.
Yes, 4, 5, and 6, yes.
There are 2 addresses, 1547 Larry Lane, 1547 Larry Lane. These are 2, one is a third Bolan something, second is some different, So probably there are 2 different people they signed, and I went, as I mentioned, Larry Lane. So even their handwriting is different, even ink is different. You see signature number 4, their pen is different. Second, number 4, their pen is different, ink is different. Number 5, ink is different. Pen is different. People are different who signed it. I mean, you can both check it. And number 6, address is different, 155, 1551 lady. Address is different, same thing, different person. So number 6 is different person, different address, different signature, and no resemblance in all these 3 signatures.
Okay,
In my presence, under oath, I'm under oath.
okay,
I
sheet
don't
12.
I don't lie. I don't have to. Okay, number 10 is done. Number 12. Number 12 is okay, 7, 8, 9, probably 10 as well, right? She's, I mean, alternatively is very generous in objecting.
Okay.
7, 8, 9. 7, 8, 9, and 10. I mean, okay. Is on Ahmad Court. I went there. Whole family was there. Mother was there. Her 2 kids, son, daughter, her husband. I know that family personally, and all these people they sign in my presence. If she wants, I can bring affidavit from those people.
Do you have any affidavits today?
Mr. Michael, unexpected, all of a sudden, I'm how can I bring I got 400 signatures.
Is that a no?
I mean, I do not have affidavit at the time, but I can produce if you on board wants. Yes, these are different people. Mr.
Chair, I have.
Go ahead.
Mr. Kokar, on sheet 12, lines 7, 8, 9, and 10. It seems to me that there is a remarkable similarity in penmanship in the printed names and address on sheet 12, lines 7, 8, 9, and 10. Can you explain the code?
I went in person. I can explain in person. They signed in my presence. I know that whole family, and coincidentally, all those members were at home. They have 2 houses on Ahmad Court, that's on Bloomingdale Road. On Bloomingdale Road.
Okay.
Signature, if all those people, as I mentioned, mother is Hawa, what's her name? Hawa Muni, mother, beautiful, nice lady. Nazia, her daughter, beautiful. She visited my office 2 days, weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. They came for some problem, problem was fixing. Then their son, then husband, all those people they signed in my presence, individually, separately, their own signature. Now, what is the velocity?
Okay.
I'm under oath. Number 12,
Now on number 15.
15, right? 15, 7, and 8. Yes. What is 7 and 8? 7 and 8. Okay. 7 is a father, Dilbag. He's a Sikh guy. He's my good friend. He always there for my help. He signed. Then because his son was not there. So I went second time. So first father signed, then after 3 days, son signed by signature. I mentioned about I was running for election, and the son is he was working for police. I don't know still he's working or not, but he was police officer. He signed in my presence on 1793 Arlington Drive, just behind Muslim Islamic Center. No doubt. In present, under oath. I don't lie,
Okay,
I never lied in my life.
Mr. Kokar,
Yes.
you said you went to the address?
Yes, I went to address 17.
And then you went back a second?
Yeah, second time.
A few
Because
days later?
son was not there. Yeah, as I mentioned, when I go, I use like 3, 4, 5 sheets, at a time. If there are more people, I give one sheet to other person, one to other. Sometime when I leave, I do not have signature, so I bring that sheet unsigned, like, 3, 4, 5 lines. So sometime I take it back again.
And how many days passed
This one,
between the first time you went and the second?
days,
How many is my question?
maybe few days, 2, 3
Could you
days.
quantify for about 3 days?
2, 3 days.
2 or 3 days.
I'm not sure about that, but yes, 2, 3 days.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And these two signatures are different. Some signature on 8, they are different. Others are different. And last name is Hoti, is sick. Last name is family name is Hoti. Okay, different guy. Okay. 15. Then is the 20.
Line 20. Or sheet 20, I'm sorry.
20, everything. Let me, can please check your.
No, I have notes on mine. I'm sorry, you can't look at my 320. I have notes on my documents. Why not?
Sheet 20, lines 2 and 3.
Yeah. So we can go back, let me find that sheet, I have somewhere in my paper.
All right, you want to skip that one for now?
No, not, yeah, for little bit. 20, so then after 20,
And then there's also 20 lines 8 and 9.
21, 8 and 9. 21, 8 and 9.
No, 20.
20 we are
Say, you want to skip?
I will come back.
Okay, fine. All right, 21 is 2, 3, and 4.
Okay, 21, 2, 3, and 4. 155, 155, 155. Yeah, this is a Warwick Drive. On this, I went with my one more candidate. He's running for election. His name is Jeffrey Zadi. He was with me. We went to board people. They signed his petition. They signed my petition. Different people signed, not one man. Different 3 people, they signed my petition. They signed also Zadi petition as well. So I was in person, 155 with 150. This address I put in. 150.
So that's your handwriting.
This is my handwriting. Yeah.
The addresses.
Signature are there. They print their name, and I put in a 155 by myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's your contention that the individuals
Yes.
filled in the signature column
Signature and then
and the voters' printed names.
they. And I put this 155. This is my handwriting. As I mentioned, I'm under oath. Period.
Okay.
Number 22. And their signature, Mr. Michael, their signature are different. No signature matches with other. And those people were like, those Korean, something like those. So, they're. Okay. So now we are going 22. What are the 22 lines,
9 and 10.
9 and 10.
Wait, no, yeah.
And 21, it was 9 and 10.
21 was 8 and 9.
No,
All right, let's go over this. I have down line, sheet 21,
21 is line 8 and 9, right?
or for sheet 20, let's go to sheet 20.
Oh, we did not.
Hold on 1 second. This is for my own edification.
Okay.
I have lines 2 and 3. And lines 8 and 9.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
The
20. Yeah.
8 and 9 was the one with the affidavit.
Yeah.
21, I have 2, 3, and 4.
21 you mentioned 8 and 9.
And then 22, 9, and 10.
22.
There is no 10 on line sheet 22. What am I missing here, Mr. Orski? What did I
let
write
me go
down?
back to my notes. Yes, so sheet 21, 2, 3, and 4. sheet 21 also was lines 9 and 10. And 22,
And it's blank.
21
no, for
was
sheet
eight.
21.
Sheet 21. 21, we have 2, 3,
9
and-
and 10.
I thought we had 2, 3, 4, and 5.
2, 3, 4, and 5, as well as 9 and 10.
Oh,
Right.
and 9, I see, okay,
There you go.
okay, great. And then what comes after 21, 9, and 10?
So
Wait,
21.
no, this is for Ms. George.
I'm just trying to.
Yeah,
reiterate what-
I wrote down something.
We didn't have anything on sheet.
Okay, got it, all right, so 21, 9, and 10,
21 is 9 and 10.
yes. Okay,
So we did, 20 we will compare, right? 21,
21, 9, and 10. I have some questions about that.
9 and 10. So we did, 21, 8 and 9. You first mentioned 8 and 9.
That was 8 and 9 was sheet 20.
No, we did not discuss sheet 20.
21, I don't.
Yeah, we did, that's the one,
I
yeah.
will skip, we will
Oh,
compare.
yeah, we'll come.
Oh, I'm sorry, he is correct. I apologize. It is 8 and 9 for sheet 21. I do apologize. So it's actually 8, I think I said 8, 9, and 10 maybe.
Yeah, it's 21, 8, and 9.
Yeah, we discussed.
I apologize.
All right,
It is 8 and 9.
21,
22 is 9 and 10.
22 is nothing.
all right, Mr.
22 is
Volker.
nothing,
I don't believe that.
because I have 9 and 10, you mentioned.
No, that's 21, 9, and 10,
22 is nothing,
or 21, 8, and 9. 22 is nothing.
8 and 9. And 23 is nothing.
All right, 20, can I direct your attention,
Yes.
Mr. Volker, to sheet 21, lines 8 and 9?
That we discussed,
Yeah, right, I have some questions.
Okay.
Okay, could you look at that? 21, 8, and 9.
8 and
Do you see the address? Did you write that address? Or
No,
did someone else?
this I did not. No, this is orderly. This is 729 Burdett.
But you did not personally write that.
No, this I did not.
Do you know who did?
Yeah, the signer,
Which sign?
Aliza. Aliza, she's a young lady over there.
Okay,
She signed in my presence, then her mother signed.
okay. And the address portion of line 9, who wrote that?
That I don't. But I know her mother, she was old lady, senior citizen, very polite lady. She signed in my presence.
And
Aliza,
the address of line 10, who wrote that?
yes. Oh, I did not write.
Do you know who did?
I don't recall.
Okay, all right, thank you.
But signature, they were done in my presence.
Okay.
Mother, first daughter did, then mother, she was, she's a heavy lady,
Okay,
and she signed in my presence.
okay, thank you.
This is on
And then next is sheet 23,
23, not long.
3 and 4.
Uh, 1501 President Street, 1501 President Street. Yes, these are 15 President Streets. Yeah. Mr. Muhammad. Yeah, this person, and then commission. There are two people, they sign in my presence. Yes, I got this. This is on President Street. Muhammad, he's my friend. He lives down my house. First he signed. Then I talked with his wife, him. I said, your wife home? He said, yes. She came and she signed in my presence. Second is wife, first is the guy,
Okay,
Muhammad.
okay,
So both signed in my presence.
okay, and then sheet 24.
Which line we're going to go?
5 and 6.
Five and 6. Read. 17 reads, 80 reads. Yeah, these are two different signatures. You mean, these are like Stanley. Yes, I know. These two people, they were living in my neighborhood. But their son got married, then they moved to this address, so I went in person and they both signed in my presence. Husband and wife.
Okay, Mr. Kokar, could I direct your attention to the middle column where it says voters printed name? You see that? On this sheet 24.
26, 26. Okay, sheet number 24.
24. Look at the address column. You see that? The street address or rural route number column, the third column?
1768.
No, just all of them. There appears to be 1,
6,
2, 3, 4, 5 different addresses in that column, right?
Yeah, 15.
Okay, fine, there's 5.
Okay, I got it.
There's 5 different addresses for 8 petition signed.
Mhm.
Now, I'd like to direct your attention to the middle column
Okay.
where it says voters printed signature. 7 out of 8 of the signers have the same last name.
Yeah, they are South Vietnamese.
They are what?
South
They're
Vietnamese.
South Vietnamese.
Yeah,
Okay.
and all these people, first, they used to live by my house. I live on 1570, and their house is south of me, 1560. So then kids got married. So I went to this house, to my right door neighbor, 1560. First, husband signed, then wife signed, husband and wife, both, they signed.
Okay.
Then I said, where are others, and she said, they moved in. So
Okay.
as I mentioned, I went, one of son lived over there.
Okay. So then you're saying you went to each
Each house.
separate address.
Each house,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Each house in my presence.
And who wrote then the names in the middle column?
This is their road, not even I did not write
So
it.
it's your contention that 8 different people filled in the middle column.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
These are, they live on different addresses, so. Okay, number 20 now, we'll come back to 20. This is in my presence, first two signatures, they live in my right side, then other houses I went, Reeves, as I mentioned, when I went to Reeves,
Okay.
I did not know the couple lives over there. So when they came outside, then we hug, each other, okay, you live here, and
I'm sorry, what sheet are we on?
Sheet 24.
Oh, I thought you went over to sheet 20. Are you on 20 or 20?
no, I'm coming back to.
Oh, you want
24,
to
we
go
are,
back to 20?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
I-
All right. He skipped.
24 is done, 24 is done.
Yes,
Any question?
I'm finished.
Ma'am, do you have any question?
I will ask my questions on cross examination.
Okay, let's go. All right,
Okay,
all right. Sheet 20, lines 2 and 3.
let me find. The step of it. 20 is same, which is under dispute, right? Okay. This is the same the guy filed, affidavit, right?
No, that's later in the sheet. That's 8 and 9. Right now, we're talking about 2 and 3. If you have anything you'd like to say about it.
No, I don't have it right. Can I look at the sheet, please? If you can provide me the sheet. Have sheets, but
You need a copy of
then
that?
I have bundle of, but I don't have it. One is,
Well, we can get you one.
give me, Okay, I found it. So what is the question over here?
Just whether or not you have anything you'd like to add about sheet
20,
20, lines 2 and 3.
2 and 3 and any other line? Just 2 and 3,
8 and 9.
8 and 9. 2 and 3. Yeah, this is signature Lenz Lopez. 42 Campbell and then 42 Campbell. I went in person at that address 42 Campbell. And those people, they signed my petition in my presence. Even one has not printed, her name.
Right.
One is printed, one is that is in my presence. And I went in person that this street, Campbell, which is present from my house is all the way north on the left side as a court. So I went in person, I got signature in person, no lie, no nothing. And yes, in my presence. First is these two signatures.
Okay.
Mm.
Do you have anything you'd like to add about lines 8 and 9?
8 and 9, those are disputed as I mentioned, my right to confront that witness has been violated by board. And I do file objection. I want to go into detail that this is a conspiracy is implanted. There's some board member of this village lives close to that house. I believe that they are relative or they are good friend and they did it purposely. That to create the situation. And both signature, I went in person and I do recall the lady who signed and the man signed. If there are 8 registered voters on this 10, 16 Greenbrier house, 8 registered voters. I don't know how come in one house, family home, 8 people are living.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some problem in. So it is implanted and I will take notice, I have full determination to take care of this notice. Who signed? And while registered voter, I asked name. Is your name this? Yes. You live here. Your vote is registered. Yes. And they are signing one person, some other's name. I do not ask ID. That's the case here. But this is not coincident. This is implanted, is fabricated, and I'm going to take action.
Okay. Anything further?
All these voters are in my presence. I went to door to door. I did not let anybody to sign for others' signature.
Okay.
Under oath, under affidavit. If this board wants, I can bring in your affidavit. Will be in 2 days, 1 or 2 days. If they don't agree, any person when they want. Coincidentally, one guy is here. He testified. So this shows, my honesty, my integrity.
Okay. Anything further?
Okay, number 1, I have filed, I have sent.
Wait. Are you done with your presentation?
With this,
Yes.
is it too
All
hard?
right, Mr. Jaworski gets to ask you
And
some
to me,
questions. Wait,
I
Mr.
want-
Kokar,
Yes.
Ms. Jaworski gets to ask you some questions. You testified on your own behalf, so he gets to ask you some questions. Ms. Jaworski?
Thank you very much. In regard to, if you can turn your attention to sheet 15, lines 7 and 8, please.
Seven and 8.
As well as lines 9 and 10. Mr. Coker, you testified under oath that,
15 lines,
yes, you
7
testified,
and 8.
7 and 8.
you
Yes.
testified under oath
Yes.
that you testified under oath that the father signed first
Yes,
and that you came back a few days later.
yes.
I'm sorry, can I please get my question out?
Yeah, Mr. Kokar, let her finish her question and then you'll have every other. Wait,
She's been.
Mr. Kokar! Stop interrupting, please. She didn't interrupt you when you spoke. Afford her the same courtesy. She will ask you a question. You'll get every opportunity to answer as much as you'd like. Okay? Okay, all right.
Thank you. Mr. Coco, it was your testimony under direct examination that the father signed first and the son signed second, but he came back a couple days later. So when did you get the signatures on lines 9 and 10?
When I was circulating my petition, during that time. I
Okay,
do not know a particular day that I went on this day, but I do know that first I went, for the sign. Son was not there, so I came back. Then,
do you recall on the first day that you were there, whether you were,
no, I do not recall.
Hey,
And
Mr. Kokar, let her finish the question.
on the first day that you were there and you got Mr. Dilbag Holthy's signature, I believe that is the father, correct? Okay, when you were there and you got Mr. Dilbag Holthy's signature, were you walking that day or were you driving that day?
I always take my car, and then in that neighborhood, I park my car, and then I walk
Okay,
in that neighborhood.
and do you recall on that same day that you went to go see Mr. Holthy, going and circulating any petitions over on Churchill Lane?
Yes, when I go all around.
Okay, so on that same day, you walked.
Same day
the
I
block?
walk.
Okay.
As I want to add, when I
Well,
go,
hold on, there's
I
no
have
question.
all.
Hold on, yeah. Mr. Kokar, when she asks you a question, you answer the question, then she gets to ask you another question.
So on the same day that you were circulating on Arlington Lane at approximately 1793 Arlington Lane, did you also likely have an occasion to circulate at 1795 Churchill, which is around the block?
Yes, as I mentioned, generally, yes, I go, I have like 3, 4, 5 sheets, sign sheet, If there are more people, I give one sheet to other, one voter, other sheet to other voter. And then I go to other, so, yes. I park my car in that neighborhood, then I walk, and I go by myself. One instance, as I mentioned, Reeves Road, Reeves Drive, somewhere over, I mentioned that, one of my friend, he was with me, he's a candidate for trustee.
Okay,
Otherwise, I go by myself, one person.
okay, I have nothing further. I will reserve my statements for argument.
Okay.
So that sheet, but I do have a couple of additional questions as it relates, and that was particular to that sheet, and a couple other questions, if we can go over to sheet 21. It was your testimony that for sheets, for lines 2, 3, 4, and 5, you stated that you wrote in the address.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, and who wrote in the printed names? I don't think I got that in the testimony.
Printed name, those registered voter.
I'm sorry?
Registered voter, they signed, they printed the name.
So each voter
Yeah.
printed their own name.
Only,
Okay,
they sign and then name. And those signatures are different.
okay, that's all. There's nothing else pending. If we can now move over to sheet 24. I just want to be clear, it was your testimony that these signers also printed their own name, correct?
Everybody, yeah.
Everybody. All right.
As I mentioned, first two signatures,
That's all, that's the scope of my question. Check my notes, see if I have anything else. I have nothing further at this time.
Mr. Kokar, anything further?
as I mentioned, these petitions, signature petitions, I went door to door. I got signature in my presence. I did not let anybody,
Wait, Mr. Kokar, do you have any other evidence you'd like to give? What you just started to say is a summation of what you testified. Do you have any
I
other
mean, the
evidence?
thing is, as I gave one guy was here, Mr. Tony.
Yeah,
Coincidentally, he's here.
yeah, so
But
do you have any other evidence that you'd like to put in?
right now, no.
Okay, all right, so do you rest, that's called resting. Are you prepared to rest?
No, as I mentioned, I have a list of witnesses. Those witnesses are here. I want, number one, and I want to depose this colored people.
Okay, all right,
And,
all right, do you have other witnesses that were on your disclosure?
Oh, now I will file for, list, what's his name, objector, I will.
Okay. Okay, but as.
Right now, I filed,
All
I want to depose all.
Okay, and you'd like to hear testimony from the clerk?
Yes,
What about?
about records,
About what?
about record, she sent, to the Page Election Commission about, when that guy, what's the objector, when he came, when he got, all that stuff, about this, Objector, Urban, Matthew Urban, I
So-
want, yeah,
You want testimony
testimony,
about,
I was under some assumption he should be hearing.
oh,
That's the only reason I didn't put name, so I said he's a petitioner, whatever,
okay, what does the clerk's testimony have to do with that?
I want to, while there is any collaboration between, to me, this is all fabricated against me to throw me out of the ballot. Because all these semester I got in my presence, as I mentioned, vote on vote, I got over 400 semester, I just put, about 187.
Okay,
Because I didn't need, And still, as I mentioned, according to verified result of DuPage Election Commission, they objector filed 57 to me is with malafidely, with bad intention, and those 27 has been overruled. I accept that result,
okay,
and now I will request this board, I have valid signature. So
okay. I don't think you've presented a valid basis for calling the clerk as a witness. Again, you said that this was about bias and the case, it seems to me,
Bias.
turns on whether or not the candidate has a sufficient number of signatures. The circumstances of the filing of the petition, you had an opportunity to challenge the validity of the objector's petition. And we haven't done that. We're down to the question of whether or not you have a sufficient number of signatures. So I don't think that's warranted. And we've already talked about Mr. Corbin and his need to be here. So I don't think we need to revisit that. And the one fact witness that you presented, even though you disclosed him late, we did permit him to testify. Is there any other witness?
Mr. Epstein is sitting here, and he came to,
What's Mr. Epstein's?
he will testify about my credibility, honesty, and the bias of this board
Okay.
member.
Okay, first of all, hold on, have a seat, sir. I don't think anybody thinks that you're not an honest person. I don't think anybody, your testimony, they're gonna weigh the credibility of your testimony. You don't really need a character witness for that. In fact, character witnesses are generally not permitted in civil lawsuits anyway, because no one's impugning your character. This is just a question about what happened and what didn't happen.
Mr. Michael,
And was he included on the list of witnesses you disclosed yesterday?
Mr. Michael,
Was he included in the list of witnesses you disclosed yesterday?
this one,
Yes.
yes, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And what's the purpose of his testimony?
As I mentioned about bias of the board.
Okay. Anything
and the
else?
bias about, this objector. His intent,
Yeah,
his
yeah.
intent is not,
Mr. Colcart, the objector is trying to have your name removed from the ballot. I'll grant you that he's against you. People who object generally are for somebody else. So it sort of goes part of it.
can I read, paragraph,
Mr. Kester, can I speak?
No, not yet. Sorry, sir.
Because I can get this over with real quick.
This is about, objector, what he wrote, that he wants integrity of, system of that. While he himself is, violating rules of, honesty and integrity and implanting, a person who is the best, mayor in the history of Glendale Heights, who did not hire his or her family members, who was against nepotism, who did a lot of, reforms. We passed nepotism ordinance.
Okay.
We eliminated rules of property about 70%.
That's irrelevant.
That is, I'm doing that.
That's the purpose of the testimony?
And when my integrity, my honesty is challenged, by objector, so I have to produce my character evidence.
Okay.
Fraud, pattern of fraud that is alleged against me. while I did not commit a single act.
All right. Was the witness, was the proposed witness with you at the time you circulated the nominating petition?
They know me, they know my character.
No, was he with you? The person you'd
No,
like to call,
no.
what's your name, sir?
My name is Christopher Epstein.
Was Mr. Epstein with you when you circulated?
No.
Okay, okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Epstein, his son, his wife, they signed my petition.
All right, the purpose of testimony from witnesses is to establish the facts. The facts or what happened regarding the circulation. I don't believe Mr. Epstein is being offered for any facts, any what we would call factual testimony. Instead, it's sort of his opinion. It's his opinion about I think about both the objector and the candidate, which I don't think is relevant. So I would recommend against the testimony.
Mr. Michael, he signed, he can testify that he signed, his wife, his son signed it.
Yeah, so I was with him at least on one. And I have.
Mr. Epstein.
It has about Tiffany's testimony today, so I do have relevance. I do have relevance. And 2 years ago, when you oversaw my case with Mr. Meritato, so there is some history with regards, so I'm just.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't recall that.
Well, that's, yeah, there isn't, where you only allowed one objection. You went through the whole series of objections, so there is some relevance.
I don't think we should.
No.
No.
No, of course not, you're all Republicans.
I was off the record. I was a lawyer for the Democratic Party for almost
I don't
30 years.
I don't, so is the Democratic,
Like Madigan, be specific.
All right, anything else, Mr. Kokar?
As I mentioned, all this nature, I under oath, I went in person to person. I did not let, and somebody, they offered me, oh, we can sign us. No. You sign yours. If your wife and buddy bring it.
Okay,
They signed. I guarded everything, good, and result of DuPage Election Commission over here. And this objector with malafidely, bad intention, advertently, he filed more objection than he should have filed. Those have been overruled. And Attorney Tiffany, to me, he took oath, to uphold US Constitution, Constitution of Illinois, and laws of the land. What she is doing, she is abusive. You can file lawsuit against me. She is abusive. She is misleading this board. She is impeding due process of law. She violated my Sixth Amendment right, a US Constitution right to confront witness. She is responsible for that. And I'm going to take action based on it. I will write to, ARDC, complain, what she's doing. She cannot do this, And in her letter to me, she always says, oh, you call your witness, he is harassed, he is intimidated. I have under due process, under law, under due process, under constitution, I have right to send letter or anything to call witness. Is process of law, and she is threatening with me, and you are intimidating. As attorney, she cannot do that. She knows this board is abusive. They are biased. They will do anything. Is history full of this lady was sitting on the hall months ago. She was making argument with me. Her husband was making argument with me, and that's your voice. Let me speak.
Hold on, Mr. Kokar.
Yeah,
She's objected.
Yeah.
So let's resolve the objection.
she doesn't let me
I will,
talk.
hold on. I think and Mr. Kokar is summing up his arguments. I think he has a right to do that. So I think we should overrule the objection and let him complete his statement.
And I have
Overruled. You
I
can
have
keep
sent a
going.
letter to Chief Judge to give me a public member. What's wrong with that?
I saw that. Okay, anything further?
No.
Okay, Ms. Jaworski, it's your objection. I think you have the last word.
Okay, thank you very much. First and foremost, I wanted to just go over a few things that came out during the cross-examination of Mr. Kokar. As it relates specifically to sheet 15, if I can turn the board's attention to sheet 15. What I found rather interesting with that testimony is Mr. Kokar testified that first he got the dad's signature, and then he went back later and got the son's signature. But then on cross-examination, I asked him, were you out circulating on Arlington Lane and then going to Churchill Lane or Churchill Drive, which is right around the corner? Did you do all that in the same day, and were you out walking? He said, yes. All of you have circulated nomination petitions before. It's nearly impossible to reserve a space and say, somebody's going to sign here later. The instinct of a person, when you see a blank line and you're signing something, is you're going to sign on the next line. And we didn't hear any testimony from the candidate stating, well, I told people not to sign on line 8 because we were going to reserve that line for Koldish Oldie when I come back. So it's just a little bit strange to me that he would say on direct testimony that he got the signature and he was going to come back later for the son's signature, but then got 2 more signatures right after that in the same circulation run. Again, just doesn't seem reasonable to me. So that's one thing I want to do. Then if you could turn over to page 21, please, sheet number 21. Was the candidate's testimony that the signers of sheets 2, 3, 4, and 5 all printed their names individually. Looking at this printing on sheets 2, 3, 4, and 5. And again, this is based upon not per se, I'm not saying that, people can't have their addresses and stuff or their names pre-printed in there. They can't. However, the candidate testified, each one of these people printed their names individually. If you look at 2, 3, 4, and 5 on sheets 21, to me, the printing looks identical. I see no variations whatsoever in the printing. The A's all look the same. The L's look the same. The M's look the same. Every single letter to me looks like the exact same person printed every single line. Now, if we can turn to sheet 24. And honestly, we have the exact same problem. On sheet 24, the candidate testified that each one of these signers individually printed their printed name. This is from the candidate's own mouth. As you can see, looking at these, they look exactly the same. There is not a variation that I can find. The H's are crossed the same. The T's are crossed the same. There's little flourishes in the lettering that appear to be exactly the same to me. So by candidate's own admission, if they all printed individually, I find that to be a little suspicious. And the candidate said they all printed individually. It does not look to me. And I've been doing this about 20 years. I've looked at a lot of signatures. It doesn't look to me like the printing is by the actual signer. So those are a couple of things I wanted to point out. Taking all of this, and your job as the electoral board is to, judge the credibility of the evidence that's been presented to you, and to apply your knowledge of the process and of your own experiences circulating nomination petitions to this process. And in my opinion, and as it relates to the petition sheets circulated by Mr. Kokar, in my opinion, we have demonstrated both by the affidavit that was submitted by Mr. Azim Hussein that he was not the actual signer of the petitions, by the candidate's own testimony that these signers printed their name on these sheets that they actually didn't. And that relates to sheets 21 and 24, by the candidate's own testimony as it relates to sheet 15, basically saying, well, I came back later and got that person's signature. I just don't find that reasonable, where it's line 8, and then you got 2 more signatures under line 9 and 10, where the candidate testified himself that he actually went out and circulated that day and was in that area, and that his habit when he circulates is to get out of the car and walk the block, then come back and go to another area. That does not, if that is what he usually does, sheet 15 doesn't comport with that habit, because again, this is a line in the middle of the page. If it was the last line, we'd be having a different conversation. But it's not. It's a line 8. It's not line 10. It's not line 1, line 8. Now, if we take all of this into consideration, the board needs to make a decision as to whether whether all of these issues rise to the level of fraud and rise to the level of a pattern. The board has the option to just take the records exam and say, this, he has 157 signatures, we're not finding any patterns of fraud. He's staying on now. That is certainly the board option. Another board's option is to find, you know what, we do think that there was a pattern of fraud. However, we don't think that it permeated the entire set of petition sheets. We only think that it's out with certain sheets. And those would be some of the sheets that I identified in my presentation. The board's other option, and this of course is the most severe option, is to determine that, in fact, we do believe that there was a pattern of fraud. We do believe it permeated the entire process. And because of that, we are invalidating all the sheets circulated by that specific circulator. This does happen sometimes. And again, it is, you know, a certainly more severe, more draconian option, but it is an option that the boards sometimes do exercise. In many cases, candidates usually have multiple circulators. So if that happens, it doesn't often, you know, resolve the issue and have the candidate removed from the ballot. Here, the candidate was the only circulator. Sometimes candidates do that because they figure, you know, I want to have ownership over the process, but that can also be a very dangerous thing to do because then you're the only one. And if there's any sort of pattern of fraud found against you, then that can doom your candidacy. So that's the summation of the case at here. Now, I did want to talk about very quickly, just wanted to touch on the request that was made to the DuPage County Court. A request was made by the candidate on Friday, Thursday or Friday, I think it was Friday actually, to Chief Judge Bonnie Wheaton to have this electoral board replaced and replace with public members. Part of the reason for that request, I really couldn't tell. It was very difficult to understand. It appeared that there was a statement that the clerk might be called as a witness, and obviously that was denied here today. And I would also submit that there would have not been any relevancy to your testimony to this case. Nonetheless, such a request in these cases, those need to be made at the beginning of the case. By the time that request was already made, and I put this on record with the chief judge over at DuPage, by the time that the request was already made, this board had already made substantive rulings. To continue to disrupt the process, just because, you know, somebody says that they don't know what they're doing or they're a non-attorney is not acceptable. The board in place, you know, put rules in place for a reason. And those rules should be followed. In addition to that, this is not Mr. Kokar's first time doing this. In fact, he sat on electoral boards 2 years ago. He was a candidate 4 years ago. He's been through this. He's been removed from the ballot. He's been returned to the ballot. He knows the process. He was also advised multiple times by the electoral board attorney to look into potentially getting a lawyer, which Mr. Kokar has not done. Instead, he comes here today and is seemingly making threats against me and making threats against my license, which I do not appreciate, making statements that I have done certain things when all I have done is represent a client. So I don't appreciate that. I want to put that on the record that I do dispute any and all allegations that he's presented against me. I've conducted myself professionally with this board. I've attempted to conduct myself professionally with Mr. Kokar. When he has tried to send in a correspondence saying that he wants to call this person as a witness or that person as a witness, as the attorney for the objector, yes, I voiced my objection because that is what I am supposed to do. That is part of the province of my job. And so, you know, Mr. Kokar, I'm sorry if you feel personally attacked. None of this is personal. But that said, I do submit to the board that I do believe that there is enough evidence here of a pattern of fraud to demonstrate that there in fact was a pattern of fraud. Whether the board determines that the pattern of fraud permeated the entire set of petitions and determines to remove all the petitions, or if the board determines that there was a pattern of fraud, but we're only removing certain sheets, I do submit that even the removal of the certain sheets, particularly the ones identified in my presentation, I do believe that that would ultimately result in the removal of the candidate from the ballot. Thank you very much for your time.
Can I just thank you? It's coincident.
You went already, Mr. Kokar.
She
She gets the last one.
she raised new issues, you know.
Okay,
That I
briefly.
Yeah. Number one is coincidence. I did not know that she will raise because same person raised objections 57 and sent to DuPage Election Commission. How come today she found other objections? Those period of objections was done, is expiring. That was, I believe, 5 days after submission of objection. 2018 December, I believe, was last submission of petitions, and 5 days after that, 23rd or 24, So that objection she's raising after that should be dismissed. There's no legal right to this attorney. They are now raising different objections after date of expiration. That day, I believe, is 5 days after submission of petitions, whatever day that's coming. And now today is December 23rd. She's raising objection again, after a month. How long she will keep raising, objection? There's law put limit. That expired month ago. And to me, as I mentioned, this attorney is abusing her.
All right, you've already said that. We're going down.
So I will go after that. I will fight.
Mr. Kokar,
This is not way to practice law.
Mr. Kokar.
Yes.
Please address your comments only to the board.
And I as mentioned, I have no credibility on this board. They are deadly against me. They are full of prejudice. They discriminate. Whatever they're doing against me. And as I mentioned, all these objections she raised today should not be acceptable, should be rejected by the board. Date has been expired, and she is manipulating her position as an attorney, abusing her position, impeding due process of law, misleading this board because of money. And when there is question of money, question is old constitution, old land, law and the land.
Could you confine your
Yeah.
comments to
And
the
all
evidence?
these signature,
To the evidence.
yeah, she mentioned, about, the signature I got by Houthi, as I mentioned, whenever I go, used to go, I used to have like bundle of petitions. So I gave one to this house, second to this house. If there are more than one candidate, I give, okay, you signed on this petition, you signed on, you signed on this petition. So this particular case, it happened, as I mentioned, the father signed, son was not there. So I went after that, and I came home. I kept that sheet as it is.
Okay, there's
He's talking-
another objection.
He's retestifying.
Mr. Kokar,
Let me explain.
Mr. Kokar. Okay, we'll take turns. What's the basis of your objection?
He's testifying and we are now in closing arguments and he said he has already closed his case.
I think that Mr. Kokar is just summarizing his testimony, which I think is fine, but could you're saying you're getting repetitive, Mr. Kokar. So could you wrap it up?
Yeah, about, she made some objection, not some, lot of objection. It shows, malafidely on her part, attorney's part. Because
And
objection
again,
on file
keep it
57.
to
And-
the evidence.
Okay, this particular signature, Houthi, what she mentioned, she about a file objection today about the Houthi guy, as I mentioned, father signed, I brought that in when I went second time. It's not that, how come you took so many long time, it's fact. That I'm talking about the fact. She's talking about presumption, assumption,
Yeah,
I get it.
Mr. Kokar, when you say things like, as I mentioned, that means you're getting repetitive, because you've already mentioned it.
Yeah,
Okay, so if you bring your comments to a close.
yeah. And she objected, Tony's, his wife's signature. She's here coincidentally, he justified. Mr. Epstein, they signed my petition. Husband, wife, son, they are here. Everybody signing. This shows, that I am following the process. I do not do not a single acting, not a single. She is talking on assumption, presumption, that is not valid or acceptable under law. That should be dismissed.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, all right. I have just a couple of things to say before we.
May I ask a
Sure.
question? On the subjector listing, challenged voter recapitulation.
Yes.
The middle column says signer is not registered at address shown, and there's an X there. Does that mean that is factual?
I'm sorry, under our recap, that's under. Truthfully, I don't fully understand how DuPage does theirs. These last few pages are a little
So
confusing.
which one are you looking for? Ms.
I'm
White?
looking at the objector listing. Challenge voter.
Yeah, I think if it's at the top, like if you look at the position of the boxes.
Here, let's see.
Yes.
Can I see that?
On one of the other ones, it's not that one, there are 7 on the page, on one I was looking at.
Yeah, this is the object
What they objected
to, without the rulings included.
Okay,
And that's included in the document that we received from the court.
right. And
It will tell you how the ruling on each of them was.
by that number, I came up with 56 that were not valid voters.
That's the allegation. There were allegations that there were
Okay, but there,
56.
there was another. Okay. Thank you.
And so the report from the clerk's office says that there are 157 valid signatures, meaning that there were 57 objected to, 30 of which were sustained and 27 of which were overlooked. That's where we have to.
Yeah, that is.
But hold on, okay. So first of all, regarding the public members, the statute says that the members of the board are set by law. So you have to be, because the election code says. You're disqualified from serving if you are running for the office that is being challenged. Pretty sure none of you are running for village president. Not sure why anybody would want that. So that basis, so I think that you all are properly constituted as the board. If the presiding judge of the circuit court finds otherwise, there's nothing we can do about it. So until somebody tells us not to, I think you're obligated to perform your duties as members, number one. Number two, regarding Mr. Kokar's statements about the Sixth Amendment and the right to confront his witnesses. I'm no expert on criminal law, but I believe that attaches in criminal cases, right, to confront your witnesses. Wait, Mr. Kokar, you're finished. More importantly, for our purpose, Rule 12 of the board's rules of procedure specifically contemplates affidavits. So, I believe you were proper to accept the affidavit. Regarding Mr. Epstein's testimony, Mr. Kokar made some representation that Mr. Epstein was a petition signer, but I would note that his signature was not challenged. It was not brought up by Ms. Jaworski during her presentation, so there was no necessity for his testimony. And regarding Mr. Kokar's allegations that Ms. Jaworski presented new objections today, I think that the objector's petition, when it was filed, alleged this pattern of fraudulent circulation. And so I think the candidate was put on notice of that, and I think Ms. Jaworski was well within her rights to present arguments and make argument regarding something that she's pled well over a month ago. So I don't agree with Mr. Kokar about that. Which brings us then to the nub of the matter, which is the allegations regarding this alleged fraudulent circulation. So, I think we will all agree that the candidate, when we entered the proceedings today, had 157 valid signatures. Regarding, and Ms. Jaworski made a presentation on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 petition sheets. First and foremost, regarding Mr. Sheet 6, lines 5 and 6. Over Ms. Jaworski's objection, the board heard testimony from Mr. Andrade. I personally found his testimony to be credible, that was in fact his signature, and that Ms. Jaworski's contention that it perhaps was not, I would recommend that be overruled and that Mr. Andrade's testimony be accepted and be found to be choice. I found him to be credible. Wait.
I was just gonna say, I'm gonna withdraw that one as it relates to 6.
Okay, fine. Well, that having been withdrawn, then, what that means is that the allegations regarding the other sheets, including the affidavit from Mr. Hussein regarding sheet 20, line 8 and 9, that would if you accepted Ms. Jaworski's contention that certain of these signatures were not signed by the people that they purport to be, that would remove another 16 signatures from the candidates total, which would result in 141 signatures, which is a number above the minimum. However, Ms. Jaworski's theory of the case is that because if the board accepts her argument that certain signatures were not signed by voters themselves, but were signed by other people, whether it's their spouse, their family member, their friend, whoever it may be. Mr. Kokar submitted petition sheets in which he signed the circulator's affidavit at the bottom that states under oath the signatures on this sheet were signed in my presence. So there is a body of law that's existed for about 45 years that stands for the proposition that when a petition circulator falsely executes that affidavit, that the consequence of that is that the petition sheets, all of the petition sheets circulated by that person, are to be discarded on the basis that someone who is demonstrated themselves to be unreliable in that regard threatens the integrity of the election process. Therefore, all of the sheets should be removed that were circulated by them. So Mr. Jaworski is correct. In some instances, that means if there's 10 circulators and one person executes a false affidavit, only the sheets circulated by that one person are invalidated and the other 9 remain valid, as it should. You circulate and you do all of it improperly, then your sheet should be valid. In this case, Mr. Kokar is the only circulator. And so the question for the board is whether or not, because these allegations regarding similar signatures, as was found by the board, by the clerk's office, that some of the signatures were not in fact signed by the person they purport to be, and Mr. Jaworski's attempts to tie that signature into someone else on the sheet, does that mean that Mr. Kokar's affidavits on those sheets is false? And if so, what is the consequence of that? And that is the issue before the, I think, is to decide whether or not the evidence presented here rises to the level of a pattern of fraud such that the sheets circulated by Mr. Kokar should be discarded. That's the issue. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a question for clarification. Mr. Kokar, you said you dropped off some petitions over to this house, that house, and that house, then you went someplace else. Am I correct?
No, I did not drop off.
Okay,
You got any-
that was clarification, you answered my question.
Okay.
So you're saying that you, all 100 and some sheets you circulated yourself,
Yes,
you witnessed everything.
everything.
Why are there so many discrepancies?
No discrepancy except
What
those.
do you mean, no? I'm going back 4 years ago, when you ran,
Don't go.
we just had a few
Just.
questions.
No, object.
This time there's a million questions. Okay, forget about that.
You did not like.
Wait, everybody.
That's the reason you are talking.
Mr. Kokar,
You do not.
Mr. Kokar, one at a time. Mr.
I know what they will do.
Well, that's,
Mr. Michael, I know you.
I'm just trying to.
I'm ready for that.
Mr.
This guy did not like me from the first day.
Oh, I love you. I told you that on TV.
You know, I know how much you love me.
Mr. Kokar.
And I love you.
You are the only person who is questioning.
Please.
I don't care what you do, you.
Mr. Kokar.
Mr. Michael, I know what they are.
Mr. Kokar.
157 verified by election commission, and this lady sitting over here attorney, she should shame on you, you know what you are doing.
Mr. Kokar.
Shame on you, you have license for this thing. You are abusing your authority. I will file a complaint against you.
Mr. Kokar.
I will do this, Mr. Michael, sorry, but I know the way they have been treating with me.
It's okay. It's okay.
Look his face, you.
Mr.
He's
Kokar.
staring at me.
Mr. Kokar.
What's wrong with my face?
You can do whatever you want. I'm ready for that.
I'm not taking this call.
Yes.
Sorry, just to remind everyone, I can't record everyone or write down everyone's voice at the same time. So when you guys are
I don't
yelling,
want to see my
Sir,
face
sir.
in this village, these people.
Mr. Kokar. One person speaks at a time.
Yeah.
We have been here for a couple hours now. We've got.
Same thing is going on, you know.
Everything that you want to say.
Mike,
And you-
let us
wait.
speak then.
And we,
Please let us speak.
The thing is that now this is coming on national
This is normal,
level.
this is 4
Their
years.
faces are
This is done.
Their faces, these are corrupt people.
It needs to stop.
This lady should go $70,000 of this village. I raised voice, you know. I raised voice, her husband became attacking on me last month.
all right. All right, we
I can address these people, this attorney, I'm going to file complaint against you.
Mike, we need your help. This needs to stop. You need
Yes,
to put an end.
these are, you know, you pay election commission verifying
All right.
157 record.
Mr.
This attorney saying not your value. How come you can say you are not expert, you are not witness, you know?
That's
You
true.
were filed before this.
He brought 4 petitions to my house. I signed one.
Mr.
my wife signed
Andrade,
one,
Mr.
My daughter
Andrade.
was signing another one in another room, and my other daughter was signing in another room.
Need decorum.
We need the truth. We need to be able to
Look at
speak.
you, I'm facing.
Don't shut us up if you
Yeah,
want to
I'm
get the
telling
truth.
Your face is welded. You know what you are doing.
Yes?
okay.
We're going off the
And
right.
she threatened.
Okay, we've had a robust debate on the question. I think I've laid out the question. If anybody has any questions for me about any things that we've talked about, I'm happy to entertain it. Otherwise, I think that now is the time for a motion. The evidence is closed. We've heard argument from both sides. And there are 2 motions that could be made. One motion would be to sustain the objector's petition. The objector's petition being sustained would result in a declaration by this board that the candidate's nomination papers are invalid and he would therefore be ineligible to run. On the other hand, a motion to overrule the objector's petition would indicate that the board believes that the objector has not met their burden of showing that the candidate's nomination papers are invalid. And therefore the candidate's name would remain on the ballot. The nomination papers would be declared valid. So those are the 2 motions, a motion to sustain the objection or a motion to overrule the objection. So any party can make any one of those, either one of those motions. It requires a second and then there will be a vote.
I make a suggestion.
Hold on one more second. And either motion requires the vote of 2 of 3 to carry. If a motion to sustain the objection is made and it fails to get 2 votes, it fails. Okay. And so that's what it is. So those are the motions to be.
Okay, I'll start it off. I make a motion to sustain the objections and have Mr. Coker removed from the ballot.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second. So there's been a motion made and a second. We can please call the roll, Mitch.
Trustee Pojek?
Yes,
Trustee Fodor?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Okay, so that motion carries, the objector's petition is granted. So now what happens is the board has to issue a written opinion. As I did in Mr. Pope's case, I wrote the preliminary language. But I have not having any idea what was going to transpire today. I need some time to prepare the rest of it. I would recommend that we recess for about a half an hour. And then return and sign the papers. You know, maybe you guys could go to lunch or an hour, whatever you want. And that way we can deliver the decisions to you, Mr.
I
Cole.
delivered already, Mr. Michael is not, I knew this, I knew it would happen. Thank you.
Mr. Worthy, if you would accept by email, I could.
She happy, she wanted that.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Little shame, what you are doing. And I'm filing a complaint against you as well.
Can the public speak?
I would like to
Hold
waive,
on, now, we'll get there.
Ignore that.
We'll get there.
I would like to waive in-person service and I will, in-person statutory service, I will accept service by email.
Thank you.
For their service.
Mr. Kokar, would you like me to email you the decision or would you like to wait?
No, I want right way. I mean,
All right, fine.
Yeah.
And you'll wait.
because I can file a petition, you know. I mean,
Okay.
beautiful.
Okay, we will stand in recess for how many minutes? It'll take me like 30. Minimum of 30.
Bill 115.
All right, 1:15. All right, Mr. Andrade, would you like to give your public comment now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, public comment is to,
I'm gonna stand up if you don't mind.
no problem.
You know, I don't know why Doug is leaving. This is part of this. I want to give you the respect you deserve. Okay, so.
3 minutes, Mr.
As a
Andrade.
citizen of Glendale Heights, I'm very disappointed that I see here, all through the testimony, the 3 people on the board already shaking their heads, no, 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 every time the man speaks. Let me be clear, I don't care if he's mayor, Mike's mayor, Douglas runs the town, I don't care. What I do want is I want my town, where I pay a lot of taxes, where I own a lot of property, is that you guys be fair. Get rid of all your racist rants and tantrums and all the crap you played. You run all that crap for 4 years and now that election's coming, all you guys are trying to be very polite. I see it. Any intelligent human being with a brain can see what you guys are doing. You're hurting our town. What are you gonna leave my kids? You milked it, your kids milked it. What about my kids? I have to live here. I may have to live here for 20, 30 years. You don't care about the future of Glendale Heights. The attorney testifies on signatures. She's a witness. She's an expert on signatures. She tells you how he runs his paperwork. I sat there. I saw the man come in with 4 different petitions. He gave me one to
You are
sign. My
not
daughter
that
was signing
crazy.
somewhere else.
I
This
talked to
is
you.
incredible.
Sorry, I can't.
I will file a legal charges against you.
yeah, I'm gonna stay.
I will go after those signatures, two signatures, manipulated.
This is incredible that this board uses an attorney as a witness to the character of the mayor. This is the worst, I should say, brick wall that I've ever seen in my life. You guys are a disgrace, and I'm not disrespecting you. I mean, this whole system and the way you run it and everything I sat here, it's appalling. I have a brain. I have a BA in political science. No, I'm not illegal. Because one time, somebody here questioned me if I was a US citizen. That's terrible. You shouldn't have to ask me. There's 9 registered voters in my house. I think maybe they're on and off. Some of them do go to the university. Not a big deal. Everybody votes in my house. You think that Mexicans, Americans don't vote? I'm gonna make it my quest that every Mexican American that I know and I talk to, I'm gonna let them know what happened here today. This is not okay. I know the man runs the town. I'm okay with that. I don't know how to run a town. He runs the town. You don't run the town, he don't run the town, he runs the town. I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay with the abuse you guys are doing. This is terrible. You got a guy sitting here, let me talk, let me talk, you have your hand. You never had to talk over me. Don't talk over me. I'm a voter here. You should have some respect for me. But you bring this man here, you waste his time, you bamboozle him. He doesn't even want to take the call. I heard his comment. He said, next time I won't take the damn call. That's what you guys are portraying to everybody else in the election.
You have let him,
That's insane.
you haven't had a chance.
That's insane.
You're shouting at each other.
Crazy.
You're shouting.
You are, we have. People that represent the town that swear, I've never seen this in all my life. This is crazy. You know what? You made a comment that I'm a convicted criminal, but this is criminal. This is criminal. You guys continue to be criminal. You guys, that's crazy. Yeah, you sometimes do things half right, half good, half bad. I don't have an issue with you.